It's time for KC Cares. We're Kansas City's nonprofit voice, and we're telling the stories of Kansas City nonprofits and the people behind them. KC Cares is that intersection of the nonprofit and profit communities, making Kansas City a better place to live, work, and play. This KC Cares segment is brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation, www.kauffman.org. I'm Ruth Bombigas. Scarcity of drinkable water is a global problem. More than half the world faces severe water scarcity at least part of the year, if not longer. Did you know that 1 in 10 people use a source of drinking water that is fecally contaminated? 3.6 billion people do not have access to a toilet. And globally, over 80% of the wastewater generated by society flows back into the ecosystem without being treated or reused. Well, a Kansas City-based nonprofit is working hard to change this situation in a unique way. It's Veterans Without Orders, a veteran-led, nonpartisan humanitarian organization that works to deliver clean water to communities in need around the globe. Applying skills learned during their military service, these veteran volunteers take on clean water missions, accomplishing amazing results. So how does this organization come about, and how does it work? Well, here to answer those questions is retired Lieutenant Colonel John Nonnemaker. He is co-founder and director of Veterans Without Orders. John, welcome to KC Cares.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This is a fascinating organization. When you reached out, it was like, yes, let's talk about this. So first, give us a little bit of your own military background, and then maybe you can take us on that journey to how this came about.
Yeah. So like you said, retired Lieutenant Colonel. I spent 26 years in the military. The majority of that was in a section of the military called Civil Affairs. Not a lot of people know about it, but I could kind of highlight a lot of what Civil Affairs does is humanitarian work. For me, I started in the military as infantry. And when I was in Iraq at one point, I seen these guys wearing civilian clothes, playing with kids, and just doing good work. And I asked them, like, hey, what are you guys doing? And they said, we're Civil Affairs. And so for me, I didn't know what that was, but I knew as soon as I got back home from Iraq, that was the path I was going to go on. And that's exactly what I did. Is as soon as I got back, I branched from infantry to Civil Affairs and went on this extraordinary 20-year adventure of not just seeing things in combat, but also seeing just a humanitarian crisis and being able to help with it a little bit. One specific event for me that was a turning point in my life was I was in Mozambique. And for me, being in Mozambique, I was just doing a job. I was there doing HIV clinics and malaria clinics and stuff like that as a soldier. But there was a point there where I ended up putting glasses on this kid, giving him some food and water, and just seeing like the spark in his eyes and just how it turned. And I always tell everybody that's the very second in my life where I became a humanitarian, pretending to be a soldier for the rest of my career, which doesn't do well. But I was able to stay in the humanitarian part of the military, doing work all over the world at the largest scale you could think of, from the hospital ships to planning health re-infrastructure of health in Timor-Leste. So I got to do some amazing things, had an epic career.
Excuse me, I have to admit, I did not know much about Civil Affairs. Well, first of all, thank you for your service in many ways. If you wanted to, take this opportunity to educate us a little bit, what percentage or how many folks serve in that, and are they all over the world? And
yeah, it's a good, and that's kind of what led to this organization, Veterans Without Orders, because it's not just veterans. If you think of veterans alone, they probably bring a lot to your civilian businesses or organizations, from anything to how to work outside in the cold or the heat, bringing leadership, being great team leaders, or team building. But it's not just veterans. We're veterans that have done this type of work. Veterans that your tax dollars have already spent millions on, and just me, tax dollars have spent millions just to train me on how to do this type of work. Civil affairs falls under special operations. So special operations has three pillars: special forces, which most people are familiar with, psychological operations, and civil affairs. So I think 95% of civil affairs reside in the reserve, in the Army Reserve, and I think there's about 5% that's active duty supporting special operations every day. It can do anything from looking at other countries' governments, but there is a particular path where you can be in what's called HADR, Humanitarian Assistance Disaster Response. And I was very lucky. I've been teaching for the United Nations since I think around 2016. And because I was doing that on the side, I was able to keep my career in the boundaries of just doing humanitarian assistance. Civil affairs is made up of linguists, engineers, doctors, veterinarians. So all of these things that are perfectly capable of tackling this complex humanitarian crisis around the world. And at some point we were like, we could probably just take all of this skill set, throw a t-shirt on it, and go do what we've been doing without a hidden military objective, but just doing good humanitarian work.
So that Mozambique moment was like, this is what I wanted. This is what I want to do. You came out of the military what year officially?
2 years ago, but we actually started the organization 10 years ago.
As a nonprofit?
Yeah, we were doing this. The majority of us were taking our own personal leave, funding our own missions to Haiti. And it's when you see these types of things, when you see, mass migration, sexual assault, and violence, when you see these things, it kind of sticks with you that you want to do something about it. Even while we were still in uniform, we would take our leave, and instead of taking vacations with our families to Cabo, we were going to Haiti, Nicaragua, Guatemala, just to help people. And it was, I would almost classify it as a drug.
A good drug. We'll go with that, right? Yeah. A good drug. So 10 years ago, you're doing this work in the military through the civil.
Yep, I was doing it both in the military and then taking leave and going to do it as a nonprofit as well.
So how did you do that journey of forming a nonprofit? I ask that because often we'll have founders who have a passion as you do and then go, but you had a little bit of a unique way to dance as you were serving in military, doing those kinds of things in a nonprofit. So how did that happen?
It was really kind of like a hobby. We surround. I was very successful in the military, and it's because I've always surrounded myself with talented people. Not because I'm smart. I just know who smart people are, and I put them around me, and that's what we pulled into this organization. And it was really like a hobby. The problem with the hobby is we were making such a huge impact. I mean, we were going on 2-week missions and providing clean water for 3,400 people at a super low cost. And that's kind of where the point we are today is really like, let's take it from this hobby that's making huge impact that's comparable to other nonprofits and grow it.
Okay, let's talk. You form a nonprofit. Assume you pulled on the folks you knew to walk through some of those things, getting your 501c3 and all of that. Let's talk about programmatically and how this works and who's involved. I asked a lot of questions. I should have stuck with one. How does it work?
It's pretty simple. And our solutions are simple, and what we do is simple. It's really taking, and I kind of mentioned it before, it's taking, if you take a welder out of the military and make him a civilian, he could still be an epic welder. So we take those same people, which is very fortunate for us that I don't have to pay people to train them on how to do things, or even how to talk and communicate with each other. So I remember being in Haiti, this specific story. We were down there just rocking and rolling on this project. And one of the ladies that was supporting us from another nonprofit, she says, you and Noah are just, how long have you guys been friends? You guys are, you know how to talk, communicate. You guys must have been friends for 10 years. How long have you known him? And I look at my watch and I was like, 1 day and 4 hours. It's just, we're able to pull people right out of the military, put a t-shirt on them, give them a little bit of guidance, and they know how to do this stuff. So that piece is pretty easy. The other part is how we do things. We have, I guess we could talk kind of what we do first. We have four
Yes.
what we call lines of effort. The first one is clean water and health. There's a lot of nonprofits that focus on medical missions that go around the world. We do medical missions, but it complements clean water. So our main effort is clean water and health projects all around the world. We'll hopefully get to the point where we don't need that medical component because we're treating things like cholera, diarrhea, and so on. It's just to get them healthy enough to then go on this journey of having clean water. The second line of effort that we have is providing a platform for veterans to continue to serve. And there's 1,000 organizations out there that do that. They take the step from being a soldier to a civilian. They can they're doing CrossFit, taking people camping, and there's so much they do it. We do the same thing, but we take an additional step. I will take veterans camping, but it's going to be in the jungles of Guatemala, and you're going to get up in the morning and help people. So it really provides purpose. We don't really promote that one so much, but I know like some of the veterans we take probably prevent them from, it probably helps with their PTSD. It probably helps them not want to, take that, go down the suicide route because they have this purpose. So that's our second one. We have two supporting efforts. The first one being empowering women. I've realized doing this for so long that women either have to be involved or women have to be leading the projects. For example, my three counterparts are all women. We just found that in all around the world, like it's women aren't at the table all the time. So we get them at a table where it doesn't upset their cultural balance of their communities, and train them on water. But we found that our programs and projects with women leading or being involved are 50% more successful.
Wow.
Yeah, it's specifically moms. So one good example is that I always tell, we work with these water filtration systems. And if I give one to a mom and say, hey, this is going to keep your child from getting sick. He's going to go to school. He's going to get an education. He's going to have a job. All of these things that's going to give you energy. They will take care of that filter. We give it to a man and say, hey, here's a filter, A, B, C, D. And they find out it's worth $40, and $40 will feed his family for a month. He'll probably sell that filter, and there's no right or wrong, but we want that long-term impact.
That's an interesting difference. We can go back to that. You got one more of your pillars.
The last one's kind of my favorite. It's honoring fallen soldiers. The way in which we do that, it's two ways. One, we name all of our projects after fallen soldiers. Recent ones we did in Kansas City are the Staff Sergeant Katzenberger project. He is from Kansas City, and the Corporal Unger project. He's from Leavenworth. So for both of those, not only do we name our projects and missions after them in their honor, but we actually reach out to their family and ask them if they can go with us. So we abide by the humanitarian principles. We're neutral, so we're not faith-based, but it's really cool to have somebody watch our back, to watch our six. And that's what that fallen soldier does on that mission. We actually put them on the battle roster and put them in the position called Overwatch. And they're responsible for keeping us safe on our mission, getting us through customs, all of our travel, just overall security. So we look up and we talk with them at the end of the night around the campfire, drinking a beer, and be like, if they did a great job. And then we send a note back or a video back to that family member saying, hey, this is all the things that happened today here in Uganda. We've seen 3,400 patients, or we provided clean water for 3,400 people. We've seen 609 patients. And that's all because of your fallen soldier that's here helping us today. So it's a really cool way to honor a fallen soldier versus maybe naming a building after them. And that's 100% how I want to be honored after I die is, put my ass back to work.
We're talking with John Nonnemaker. He is a co-founder and director of the Veterans Without Orders. Talk about the name.
Yeah, it's good and bad. The name in the humanitarian community is so clever, and it matches up with Doctors Without Borders. There's everything from Clowns Without Borders, Veterinarians Without Borders, and everybody always calls us Veterans Without Borders. And I actually had to buy the other domain, Veterans Without Borders, to direct it to us because They mix it up. But in the humanitarian community, they really understand, and it's exactly that. It's veterans, and we don't have orders. We're just out there doing good work. The name is clever, but also in the humanitarian community, um, being with neutrality, a lot of organizations don't like it don't work with the military, honestly. And
Right.
that's one thing that we really try to push is that we are neutral across the board. If we go to Ukraine, we're helping Russians too. If we go to Gaza, we're helping Israel. It's just 100% the humanitarian principles on where is the need, who needs it, and nothing else matters to us. So that's kind of the good and bad of the name.
So, note also to other nonprofits, when you go choosing your name and your website and everything, check out those others. We've run into that as well. There's a nonprofit that has KC Cares, and it's great. We just figure, oh, that's a punch for us. People will, think about us. They also think about the other, but that's all
Yeah.
right. It helps everybody in the long run. So talk about how you pick where you're going and then how you recruit who's going to do the heavy lift.
Yeah. So the first thing we look at is big data. We've done this type of work, and that's one of the things. I have superstars in our team, but nobody knows our team. They've all played for other teams, whether it's USAID or the United Nations or the military. But for in the past, even myself, I managed multi-million-dollar programs, and the first thing we look at is data. Where is the need? And we're not necessarily looking at, where, say, like clean water is the issue. We'll look at places that school attendance rates or literacy rates are low, because we think we can improve those literacy rates by improving attendance, by giving them clean water so the kids aren't sick and they can go to school. So the first thing is big data. The second thing we look at is our trusted partners. So we never go into a country and say, hey, we're here to save the day. We go and enable either that local ministry of health or at their district level or tribe level, whatever it's at, have a trusted partner in that country. For example, we just got back from Uganda. We partner with an organization called the Levites Academy. I trust that partner so much, I would give them access to our bank accounts. That's how much I trust them. So we swoop in. We don't swoop in and just swoop out. We go in and enable a nonprofit. Or for example, in Uganda, we were partnering the Levites Academy. We trained up 12 what we call WASH ambassadors, water and sanitation ambassadors. These are juniors and seniors in the high school. And they know how to do every single thing we do on our programs and projects now. And all we have to do is keep arming them with filters for as long as we can fund them. And then we just got back in October. We don't have to go back there. We just watch the goodness spread. So those are the first two things we look at is data and a trusted partner in that country.
So you're not only helping the current situation, you are empowering and uplifting. So when you leave, it can continue with that.
Absolutely. And it absolutely does. It's so awesome to sit back and watch them going out to other schools, doing hygiene training, teaching the kids how to do wash their hands or season their elbow. And they're going out and building hand washing stations out of like the scraps of wood laying around. It's absolutely refreshing to see that they're doing greatness.
How many projects do you have going at any given time through the year?
Roughly 2. So right now we have one in Guatemala and one in Uganda. Next year we have a big project in Malawi with our partners at Freshwater International, which I will say that their ambassador for Freshwater International is Kansas City's current superstar, Temwa Chawinga. So we're actually, from next year, we're going to Malawi to provide clean water to where she grew up and to all the surrounding schools. So we're really excited about that.
When you go in, how long are you there?
Depends. We'll send an advanced team sometimes, but usually our missions last about 2 weeks. But we call phase 1, 2, phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 is we go in and train, like for Uganda, the WASH ambassadors. Phase 2 is keep them going by either collecting data, going out training and stuff. Phase 3, we go back and finalize everything, make sure they know what they're doing, resupply them with filters, and then we slowly back away and make sure that they've got it. And then if they need our help, we're always here for them.
I totally missed asking you this question. So, are you going in digging wells? What are you actually doing
So our main
when you?
effort is these fist-sized water filtration systems. And like I said, I've been doing this a very long time, and I've done everything from building a hospital to goat farms to fish hatcheries. I've done a lot. We've come across these fist-sized filtration systems provided by Sawyer. We're not married to the technology, but they literally are the best in the industry right now. But they're about the size of your fist. They last 15 years. 15 years they last. And then they provide enough, each one of them provide enough clean water for 5 families. It's insane. But they look so cheap. A lot of organizations don't take them serious because they're not flashy. That actually works out great for us because they don't get stolen. So
Mm,
most people, if you see this big flashy solar paneled electric, something or other that produces water, you might steal it. But here, they really don't get stolen. It's absolutely 15 years, and that's 15 years in practice. They actually go to 30 years in a lab. So they're such a great technology. So that's our kind of our main thing that we do. We also do health, like I already talked about. We provide lights, solar lights specifically. They're about $12 a piece. What we found is like when kids are walking back and forth to the bathroom in the evening or walking to collect water, rape and sexual assault violence is so common in other countries. We realized like this light, $12 solar lamp is such a deterrent. It decreases rapes in some countries by 50%. It's absolutely insane. We teach hygiene and sanitation education. So we partner with an organization called Project Wet, who gives us our curriculum for free. So we're going in at all the schools, teaching them how to wash their hands, sneeze in their elbow, play a lot of games where they learn about diseases and germs. And I will say we were teaching hand washing before it was cool. So we taught hand washing all around the world before COVID. So we think that might have saved some lives, hopefully. And then the last thing we invest in is these things called spa taps. They're little silicone caps that go on the bottom of any 2-liter bottle of water. And what we found is like if women are walking 3 hours a day to get clean water and carrying it back, you're not going to use that water to wash your hands. It's gonna be pretty
right.
special. You're going to use it to cook. You're going to use it to drink. You're not going to waste it to wash your hands. But these little silicone caps we found will from 1 liter of water, it reduces the flow rate. From 1 liter of water, you can get 60 hand washes out of this flow rate. And that's huge because if you can get kids just to wash their hands, it decreases germs, decreases the amount of diseases that get spread by, I don't even think there's a number you can put on it. So we do very simple solutions. And I will say our solutions don't work everywhere. A lot of organizations will beat down, like you need to go in and do assessment. What's good for that community? I agree with that. We just don't go to those communities. We go to the communities where we're very good at this specific thing. So we have a Phillips head screwdriver that fits in 80% of the world's problems. We go to there.
This is amazing. All right. So, is your team a paid team? Are you a volunteer? How does that work?
Currently, we're all volunteer. And that's one of the things that's awesome about us is one thing when I talk to other NGOs and nonprofits, they look at our website, they look at all our mission statistics and data, and they scratch their heads and they're like, you did this with just volunteers? Yes. We've come this far with just volunteers. We are in the position now, and in May, we all decided that we do need to build out the back end of the organization. Hence the reason I'm here is we've been here 4 or 5 years. Kansas City doesn't even know we're in Kansas City, that we're a Kansas City based organization. We're trying to build out the rest of it to where we can pay people to do some of the things like the fundraising, development, social media, things like that.
Well, we hope we're going to give you that lift. So, who are your worker bees that go? Are these friends of yours that you've known, or can any veteran say, "Oh, I'm in. I want to do this"?
So at a minimum, we try to make it sure that the team leader is civil affairs are trained in how to do these types of operations. We also want to make sure that we have the specific linguists that match up to whatever country we're going to. Then I'll try to get a little bit more tailored. I'll give you an example for Uganda. We needed a doctor that has actually worked in that area of Africa. So the doctor we recruited from our network he was a Department of State doctor for 10 years in Kenya. So if you say, hey, we need a 5'2" left-handed Swahili speaker to go to Nicaragua, we can find it. That's one of the things that's absolutely awesome about being civil affairs is our network is vast. So whether we worked with them with the UN, other NGOs, the military, it's usually a quick search to find a tailored person for that specific mission set and also has availability.
So you are traveling to foreign countries. You are providing these hand wash, not less stealable or less upsale, we'll say. How do you fund all this?
Well, one of the things that we prided ourselves on the past is being quiet professionals. We would raise money and go do a project. We'd raise money, go do a project, post a picture on Facebook or 2 pictures on Facebook. It's all been through random corporations or companies find out about us and they'll send us a $2,000 check or $300 check or $40 here, $40 there. Once we had enough to go do a mission around 15,000, we would go do a mission. We really didn't put a lot of effort into the fundraising and development piece. That's changed. What we're trying to do now is bring on developers, fundraisers, people to have planned. We have our first event coming up. All of those types of things that we don't have the back end skill set. We can absolutely go in and do amazing things on helping a country. Having the back end of a nonprofit, we're still kind of, we're vulnerable here is like, we're still struggling there to try to figure that part out. And I think one thing that we have to do is get out and tell our story. And that's what I'm hoping happens here.
Where can people go to find out all the great things you're doing?
We keep our website updated, veteranswithoutorders.org. Don't forget, it's with an O, orders, not borders. But if you mess it up, you get redirected. On our Facebook page, we keep that updated. Instagram and LinkedIn, all Veterans Without Orders. You can do a search. Or, I'm always, I always have the capacity to have a conversation. So anybody that wants to email me, feel free to reach out and I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm a member of Rotary. I'm a WASH ambassador for Rotary. So usually if I go speak to a Rotary club, I usually get one person like, hey, I'd like you to come speak to my company. And the company's 3 people here in Kansas City doing landscaping. I will go talk to your company to tell you what we're doing. Because we need help and really like the energy that, Kansas City's like the people that know about us have supported us. But my email is john@veteranswithoutorders.org. Feel free to reach out.
Now, are you working full time at the same time you're doing all this, or how are you able to devote time to this?
And that's a big leap I took in May is I quit my full-time job. I was working for another large nonprofit, but was really making such an impact here. I have volunteers. I have 2 or 3 volunteers that do this for 8 hours a day. It's absolutely amazing. And that's one of the incredible things is if we can't pay for a plane ticket, I have volunteers that'll like self-fund just to go do this. I don't want that to happen. What I would love to do with as I'm talking to more people in Kansas City is you don't have to be a veteran to help us. We need door kickers, but in Kansas City that kick in doors, asking donors to get excited about what we're doing and help spread the word. So we do eventually want to get to the point where I can pay the people that are doing this out of just pure passion.
Your work is amazing, John. I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation, and I hope that it will help and spur and all those good things and keep doing the amazing work to help humanity.
No, thank you. I think I love what you're doing. I think it's absolutely needed, especially here in Kansas City, to get everybody's story is out there.
And thank you for joining us for KC Cares, Kansas City's nonprofit voice. We're produced by a nonprofit called Charitable Communications. This KC Cares segment was brought to you by the Ewing Marion Kaufman Foundation, www.kaufman.org. To be a guest on KC Cares, you can go to our website, which is kccaresonline.org, and spread the love. You'll find us on Facebook and Twitter at KC Cares Radio and on Instagram at KC Cares Online. And don't forget, Saturday mornings, you can catch us at 8 a.m. on ESPN 1510 a.m. and 94.5 FM. Thank you for joining us on KC Cares.